Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Introduction to Sociology. And today we'll be looking at Unit 6, and that is on religion. Now, by now you should have read the Tony Campbell and McLaren readings with regard to women in ministry as well as sin. And those are both for your reading reports. Please read through them and you can choose either of them to write a report on. Okay, today we'll be looking at religion. And what religion is, what it is not, as well as different varieties of religion and women in religion, which might be able to help you with your reading reports, which are due on the 16th of May. I'm going to share with you the PowerPoint on religion, and I'm going to be discussing some of the relevant points with regard to this unit. So basically, you can define religion as a set of organized beliefs, symbols, and practices, which would include rituals, based on some idea of the sacred and or supernatural. Now, when we talk about a set of symbols, there are things within religion that invoke feelings of reverence, and these are linked to rituals and ceremonies. Like in the Christian church, we'd have sermons which engage communities and teach them values that carry on into their lives. They religion is an institution, looking at it from a sociological perspective, that helps to socialize an individual into the society within which they live. And it helps to form our self-concept as well as the way in which we see the world around us. Now, some religions involve a god or gods, but there are also ethical religions which do not involve a god, but rather a code of ethics by which to guide human behavior and moral development. But whether or not a religion has a god or gods, there are always beings or attitudes within religion that inspire an attitude of awe or wonder. Some religions have expressed their higher power, if you will, through impersonal imagery, like a divine force or the universe. Others, there are figureheads within others, such as within Buddhism or Confucianism. And then within specifically monotheistic religions, and well, quite a number of other religions, there's anthropomorphism, which is the bestowing of human characteristics on a god. Now, there are various types of religion, and the one which we are most aware of is monotheistic religions. Christianity, Judaism, as well as Islam are the three major monotheistic religions. That means that they believe in one God. Judaism is the oldest, and it dates back to 1000 BC. And then out of Judaism came Christianity, and then followed Islam. Now, they are quite closely linked in that they all come from the Middle East, and they all are based more or less on Judaism, being the oldest of the three. According to Judaism, they believe that God demands strict obedience to moral codes and insists on claiming a monopoly on truth. And they see their beliefs as the only true religion. And then Christianity, which came about with the birth and ministry of Jesus, was a sect formed out of the Jewish religion, and Jesus himself was actually an Orthodox Jew. And his disciples came to see him as the Messiah, which is the anointed one of God, or the Christ as we know Jesus. And although it developed as a sect within Judaism, it branched off into a completely new religion on its own. And it was spread widely through Asia Minor and Greece, headed up by Paul, a Greek-speaking Roman citizen. And he was a major initiator of Christianity. And it later became the predominant religion within the Roman Empire, and then spread worldwide. And Islam, which originated in the 7th century AD, and whose major figurehead is Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad. Islam is based on the premise that there's one God, and that one God is called Allah. And Allah is seen as the only God, and that there are many prophets. There have been many prophets according to Islam, from Moses, and a lot of them actually biblical figures from the Old Testament. Muslims believe that Allah, through earlier prophets, including Moses and Jesus, spoke to mankind, giving them moral order and direction. And according to Islam, Muhammad, who was the final prophet, gave God's truth to, or he provided the most direct message, if you will, from God. Okay, some of the rituals involved in religious practices include praying, chanting, singing, eating certain kinds of foods, and fasting at certain times. This holds true for most religions. All religions have some kind of ritual associated with them, like prayer or fasting, for example, which is both in Christianity and Islam, although observed in a different manner. And some kind of prayer or meditation. There are these rituals that bind religion together, the concepts within a religion together, and help to bind the community together. Among the other varieties of religions, which we may not think we are all familiar with, but which actually have come to be more popular in recent times, are totemism and animism. Now, totemism, which started in, or which originated among North American natives, or Indians as some call them, is based on the belief that certain species of animals or plants are believed to have supernatural powers. And usually each kinship group within a society or within a small community has a different totem with which certain rituals are associated. Now, if you think about a totem, let me see if I can get this up quickly. If you think about a totem totems have actually become normal phenomena in parts of our society that we might not even have thought about as religious. For example, a mascot sports mascot is a totem, and it's usually an animal of some kind, and it's meant to bestow luck upon the team, which it represents. And if you want to see a modern day totem, go to any Spur steak ranch, and they will have a totem up at some place within the restaurant. They usually have animal heads displayed on them. I just want to see whether I can get this up. Okay. So, just have a look at this. Animism, on the other hand, is based on the belief that spirits or ghosts are thought to populate the same world as human beings, and they are seen as either good or evil, benign or malevolent, and may influence human behavior and even cause illness or luck, etc. They are also thought able to inhabit the bodies of human beings and make them do things that are usually outside of them, or take control of human beings. Okay, there seems to be a modern fascination with animism, and if you look at the media, the current media, and you look at certain TV programs that have come up in the last couple of years, such as The Vampire Diaries, or True Blood, or Heroes, or Lost Girl, or Dracula, etc. They all involve spirits of some kind, or the belief in ghosts. And this is what animism is. In a lot of traditional societies, people believe in spirits and ghosts. And in a lot of African traditional societies, people believe in spirits and ghosts. And they also, there are people who are seen as priests of some kind, or priestesses, who can be conduits for these spirits, or can ward off evil spirits. And so people within communities that are animistic in their belief systems, they would visit these, some call them witch doctors or shamans, in order to seek assistance with the spirit world. Okay. There are also polytheistic religions, and these involve the belief in numerous gods. And a good example of that is one of the oldest religions in the world, or possibly the oldest, is Hinduism, and this dates back to 6000 BC. This originated in the Far East, and we will be dealing with religions from the Far East in a minute. But Hinduism, being a polytheistic religion, is the belief in more than one god. Now, if we look at Hinduism, their major beliefs is that they believe in reincarnation, which means that we have a continuous life cycle that extends beyond death, and the karma that we carry in this lifetime causes certain things to happen in our life, and so we store up karma. So whether we do good or bad to people, that will be stored as karmic energy, and this will affect what happens in our next lifetime. So they believe that once you die, you are reborn as something or someone else due to whatever you have done in your previous lifetime. Another central belief to Hinduism is the caste system. And this caste system refers to people born in different categories or different statuses in society. And a different set of duties and rituals exists for each caste. Now, what a caste is when an individual is born into a particular position in a social and ritual hierarchy according to the nature of their activities in previous incarnations. So if you are born into a certain caste, it is assumed that it is commensurate with the karma that you have had in your previous lifetime. So if you're born into the lower castes, it is assumed that you have had perhaps a lot of negative karma in a previous lifetime, or if you're born into a higher caste, it is preordained based on what you have done in a previous lifetime. They also accept the possibility of numerous religious standpoints, and within Hinduism, Hindus believe that even God is reincarnated, and so they see the possibility of a God reincarnating into various human forms throughout our human history, and therefore they accept a number of different alternatives, and even Christianity, or not Christianity but Jesus, is accepted within Hinduism and as one of the reincarnations of God. Which is why they don't proselytize as Christians do or Muslims do, because they see our belief systems as valid based on their view that God can be reincarnated into different forms at different times. Now, there are also ethical religions, and as I discussed before, sometimes a religion has a God, and sometimes a religion does not have a God. And with the ethical religions, there is no God, or it is assumed that no God exists, but rather human behavior is guided by a moral code. Now, let's just have a look. Some of the ethical religions are Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism, all of which originated in the Far East. Now, Buddhism, which was founded by Siddhartha Gautama, who was a Hindu prince in a small kingdom in the south of Nepal in the 6th century BC, theorized that humans can escape samsara, or the cycle of continuous rebirth, by renouncing desire and seeking to be enlightened within a particular lifetime. And the result of enlightenment, or the objective within Buddhism, is to reach nirvana, a place of complete spiritual fulfillment. And Confucianism was the basis of the culture of the ruling groups in traditional China. This religion came up at the same time as Buddhism. And Confucius was a teacher, not a religious prophet in the manner of Middle Eastern religious leaders. And so he is not seen by his followers as a god, but as one of the wisest men who have lived. Confucianism seeks to adjust human life to the inner harmony of nature, emphasizing the veneration of ancestors. So, like some traditional African religions, there's who celebrate the veneration of ancestors. So too do Confucianists. And Taoists, who are similar, or who share similar principles, they stress meditation and non-violence as a means to a higher life. The yin and yang symbol is one that has come to be associated with Taoism. And there's an idea that both the light and the dark in all things work together in order to create harmony. So if you want to look at it from a functionalist perspective, Taoism would be a perfect religion in the sense that all things work together for the harmony of the whole. Now, if we look at different sociological theories of religion, the three people who stand out are Karl Marx, Emile Durkheim, and Max Weber. And Marx's position was, or one of his famous phrases was that religion is the opium of the masses. He said that religious believers defer happiness to a later life, and their attention is diverted by religious views, ritual ceremonies, etc., to divert away from inequalities or injustices in this lifetime in order to look forward to a future in a different world of happiness. And Marx said that religious views often provided justification for inequalities and for various types of wealth and power within society, justifying why certain things are the way they are. Okay. And Durkheim, whose main focus was on ceremony and ritual, he viewed religion as essential to binding members of a group together. Durkheim reasoned that collective ceremonials reaffirm group solidarity, working towards equilibrium in society. Just have a look here. And Weber's writings on religion differ from Durkheim's in concentrating on the connection between religion and social change. Weber saw his research on the world religions as a single project. He did quite extensive research. And he looked at the impact of Protestantism on the development of the West. And he looked at it as part of a comprehensive attempt to understand the influence of religion on social and economic life in various cultures. He analyzed the Eastern religions, and Weber concluded that they provided barriers to the development of industrial capitalism, which took place in the West as a result of Protestantism or Christianity as a whole. Now, when we look at gender and religion, we see that most religious imagery across the board within religion is male-dominated. We live in a fairly patriarchal society, and the images we have of God, particularly within the monotheistic religions, is mainly of a male God. Most of the prophets were male. In Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, all of the prophets were male. And the holy books were written by men. Now, within gender, specifically women's liberation movements in the last century, this has been picked on as something that creates further chasms within the social structure and statuses and roles in society. In 1895, Elizabeth Cady Stanton published a series of commentaries on the scriptures entitled The Women's Bible. And in her view, God created men and women as beings of equal value, and that the Bible should fully reflect this fact. Its masculine character, she believed, was not due to God being male, but due to the Bible having been written by men, and therefore there has been a bias towards males in religion. This has very serious ramifications for women in society, and I want you to think about what it means in modern society for us to have almost all male images within religion. What does that mean for women's liberation? What does that mean for the role of women in the church, which you will be covering in your reading reports? What does it mean for power within our society as it relates to different, well, either gender, as it relates to male or female in society, and our societal roles. In some religions, such as some Eastern religions, there are female deities, and in religions predating Christianity, there have been female deities, specifically within Greek and Roman mythology, as well as within Hinduism. How does that affect the way in which we view women in society? If you look at someone from the Hindu faith, as opposed to someone who practices Christianity, how would the view of women within their religious group affect the way in which they are socialized and affect the way in which they are placed in society, or the places within which they find themselves in societies. I want you to think of your the area in which you live. This is an exercise I'd like you to do at home, and it will help you get a feel for your community and for religious activity in your community, as well as the way in which people generally spend their time. This is the final activity before we log off, but thank you very much. Think about your town, the place in which you live. I want you to mark all the churches and chapels in your area. I want you to note it on your little map. How many of these buildings are still used for religious services today? Mark all other religious temples, synagogues and mosques. Now, using a different color or a different method of marking, mark places of entertainment, such as cinemas, theaters, sport grounds, swimming pools, etc. And now outline all the places for shopping malls and businesses. Now I want you to imagine if you were an alien looking down or studying the people of your town, what would you conclude about the way in which people in your society live? What do they do with their time? What are the different buildings and areas that they use? And how much importance is placed on religion and religious activities as opposed to places of entertainment and other things that fill the time? I want you to note those things, and during our next tutorial session and in our discussion forum, we will be discussing the outcome of your mapping exercise. So that's a wrap from me. I will see you next time. Thank you very much for logging on.